Hi guys, I'm so excited to share this recipe of vegetable momos or steamed vegetable dumplings with you today because momos are something I grew up eating in Nepal. The ones I ate as a kid were not vegetarian, so it took me some years of trial and error to come up with a vegetarian version of this recipe that didn't taste like plain old steamed veggies. I could eat these as a full meal or as a side dish, so let's get right into the recipe. So in a bowl here I have 1.5 cup of all-purpose flour. To that I'm adding about half a teaspoon of salt. So to this I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of olive oil and give this a mix. And I'm just going to use my hands here to knead the dough. I'm going to start with adding about half a cup of water and then seeing how the dough forms, and then add in increments. So I'm just going to mix that. I'm going to add half a cup of water more. So as you can see here, our dough is pretty soft and it's not very sticky to the hand. So I'm just going to let that sit for a little bit. We want to cover that with a wet paper towel, and we'll go on to making our filling. So I have a pan going here, a heavy bottom pan in high heat, and I'm going to use ghee. This is basically clarified butter. So I'm going to use half a tablespoon of this butter, and I'm going to add 1.5 cup of grated tofu. I'm using extra firm tofu here, and I'm also adding 1.5 cup of grated paneer. And we don't want to cook anything very much. We just want to mix everything together, and the ghee gives a nice flavor that's incorporated throughout. And then I'm going to add 1 cup of finely chopped green peppers, 1 cup of grated carrots, 2 cups of cabbage, grated cabbage. I'm going to mix everything together, and I'm just going to reduce the heat to medium-high. I don't want things to get burnt. We don't want to cook anything very much here. We just want to mix everything with the ghee. That just gives a nice flavor, and then mix everything together very well. Now I'm going to add the spices. So I'm starting with 1 teaspoon of ground black pepper, 1 teaspoon of cumin powder and coriander powder. Yeah, give that a good mix. And finally I want to add salt to taste. I'm adding about 1.5 teaspoon. Momos are usually eaten with tomato chutney, the recipe for which I will link to this video, or I'll put in the description box below. So we just want to mix all of that together, and like I said, we don't really want to cook anything. And once you feel like everything is well incorporated, we just want to add a little bit of chopped coriander leaves. So that's pretty much it for our filling. So let's go on to making the dumplings. I'm just going to transfer the filling into a bowl because I don't want the veggies to cook with the heat of the pan, and then we'll start making our dumplings. So to make the dumplings, I have a MoMo maker. It's a steamer basically. There's a pot below that holds the water, and then there's a steamer pot that goes on the top with a lid, and this is where I'm going to put the dumplings. So I'm just heating up the water while I make the dumplings. You can use any kind of steamer that you might have. Sometimes rice cookers also come with steamers, so you can use other steamers. Basically the pot where you're going to put the dumplings, you want to spray with cooking spray because you don't want the dumplings to stick to that pot because it's going to be hard to take it out later. So I'm going to make the dumplings and then just put them here for them to steam. Now to make the wrapper, I'm just gonna use a little bit of the dough that we made earlier. And you want to keep the rest of the dough covered because you don't want that to get hard. And I have a rolling pin and a rolling board here. I'm just going to sprinkle that with a little bit of flour. And I'm taking about a palm-sized dough here. And just make sure that you have some flour on both sides. And then you want to try to roll it as thin as possible. Now while you're rolling the dough, if you feel like your dough is starting to stick to the surface, just sprinkle a little bit of the flour on both sides and then continue to roll. And sometimes when you're rolling, things can get crumpled up like this, you know, if you happen to roll over a crease or something. It doesn't matter, just roll that part flat again and you should be good to go. It doesn't have to be a circle because we're going to make small circles out of this. This is pretty thin, as you can see here, it's pretty thin. So once you roll the dough quite thin, as thin as you can, you want to take a metal. I'm using an antique vase here, which has a pretty small circumference here. And I'm going to use that to gently press to make the wrappers. So to make the dumpling, you want to take the wrapper that you just made and then stuff it in the middle with about 1 teaspoon, depending on how big your wrapper is. You want to fill that in the middle with about 1 tablespoon of the filling that we made, of the stuffing. And then to close it, you just want to use a little bit of water in one of your fingers and just run through the side. So you want to make the sides a little bit wet. And once you do that all around, you want to just start from one corner like this. Use your hand to just fold the wrapper together. So I'm using the fingers below to push the wrapper above, and then I'm just gonna fold everything together and just close it to make the dumpling. I'm going to show you one more. So I'll use a wrapper. I'll maybe start with the water this time. Just have the sides watered a little bit, and then put in the stuffing right in the middle. You want to put the stuffing in the middle and then start at one corner and just start folding it like so. And once you reach the end, you just want to twirl it around and just make the dumpling that way. Now another way you can make this is after you put the filling in the center and put the water on the edges, just take one side, give it a pinch, and then with one on the one side, just fold it and press it down. Fold it, press it down. Fold it, press it down. Fold it and press it. I'm just folding it on one side, I'm not folding it on the other. I'm just folding it and pressing it down. Folding it and pressing it down. Folding it and pressing it down. So in the end, this is another shape that you can get for the momos. I'm going to show you again. So take one side, press it down, and then with that edge, just take your finger and fold it, press it down, fold it, press it down, fold it, press it down, fold, press, fold, press, fold, press, fold, press, and just press on the end, and that's another shape that you can get for the momos. Now, if you're new to making dumplings, this part is probably going to be the hardest, just making the actual dumpling, like folding the wrapper in. But don't worry, this doesn't have to be perfect as long as you can get the stuffing inside and things don't stick out. It's not going to fall apart when it's steaming. That's the only concern, that everything is closed up. Once you do a few of these, you'll get a hang of it. So as you can see here, our water has come to a boil, so we're just gonna put our steamer pan with the momos inside, and we're gonna cover this, and we're gonna let this cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. And I'll show you what it looks like when they're done. So these have been steaming for about 20-25 minutes, and this is what it looks like. They're pretty done. You can see that the wrappers are pretty translucent. So at this point, I'm gonna take these out of the steamer pot. You have to be careful because these are pretty hot, so what I like to do is just dump them into a bowl. So the wrappers are pretty fragile at this point. Once done, serve the momos hot with a small bowl of tomato chutney, also known as golbadako achar in Nepal. A link to that recipe, the golbadako achar, is at the end of this video. I hope you give this recipe a try. This is a great crowd pleaser. In fact, you can make the filling and the dough ahead of time and make the dumplings with your guests. Growing up, this is how I saw momos being made with family. Momos really brought the crowd together while we chatted and caught up with each other. So hope you try these recipe with your loved ones. Until next time, take good care and see you again with another great recipe. Thanks for watching.